if we could move up as close as possible, that would be great. Thank you.
And do you have a hearing thing? One of the church things? Okay. Okay. When they turn me on. Let me figure out what I did with them. Where do I need to point this? Towards back there? Okay, doesn't matter.
According to my watch, that's what I go by.
Yep.
Well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here this beautiful Sabbath day. I wonder if we could begin with a little word of prayer, and then I'll introduce the speaker for the afternoon. Father in heaven, thank you for this time of rest on the Sabbath day. Thank you for the beautiful health message which you've given to your church. Bless us each one. May we be healthy and happy and good Christian people. And Lord, we pray that your Spirit would guide us, and especially be with Randy today. He tells us about how to treat our bodies. So be with him especially, and with each one of us that listen. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Thanks. Now, I know that you can all hear me, but occasionally they like to put this stuff on television, so we need to have a microphone here. Now, Randy's been a friend of mine for a lot of years. He's a guy that, like most of us, we've had some medical issues in the past, and we've been transformed and changed by doing the 8 natural laws of health that God gave us through Ellen White. So today, Randy's going to tell you about his experiences with arthritis and maybe other medical maladies along the way that have been cured by this one simple regimen. So without further ado, Randy?
I guess they got me hooked up to a mic, so you can take that with you.
Did anyone not get a flyer? Okay.
Luann specifically has to come up here to the front of the class, yes. I know you get to talking to Linda back there a lot, and so I don't want you guys misbehaving. That's just a little reminder. I was a math teacher for 18 years, so if you got trouble with calculus and trigonometry and things, I'll be happy to help you. But you know, when it comes to medical, please just know I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be. I've given out the 2 questionnaires. One's a handout that has a DVD I'd like you to really watch. I'm going to do a little spoiler alert right now. That DVD is on. It says, Fasting may save your life. Now, I'm a believer in fasting, and I want you to watch that video so you can get educated about it. But if you think, you know, I know about fasting and I'm not interested, or even if you are interested, please watch the video. There's a lot of good information on there that doesn't even have anything to do with fasting, okay? It's top-notch. And a friend of mine from Walla Walla, Washington, where I used to live, sent this to me by email. I only hear from him like once a year. He'll send me an email with something good. And I was getting ready for this talk, and I was struggling a little bit with what maybe I could hand out. And he sent me this email with this DVD on there. And so on your handout there, it says 3 things you can do to help us today. It says watch the video at home. Now we're going to watch, did you get one? So we're going to watch just a couple minutes of that one, just as a little teaser there to let you see a little bit what it's like. And but again, I highly encourage you to do that. If you're not real computer savvy, and you know about the most you know how to do is put a DVD in your computer or in your television or something, we have about 23 of these left right now, and I'll be happy to share these with you. If you just like to have one of these and not watch it, if you can do computers, hold off until everybody that doesn't aren't too savvy with computers can get one, and then if there's some left over. And if you want one, I'll be happy to get you some. I just wasn't sure how many would be here, so we made up 25 of those to start with. And that DVD is by two doctors, and one is interviewing the other. A lot of good information. So I hope you're blessed. And then it says, please obtain the questionnaire. So then you'll notice the second one is the questionnaire. And I'm going to go ahead and just go over that with you, if I may, briefly. It has a place for your name, your phone number, and your email. This is for me personally. This isn't going to be shared with the pastor. It isn't going to be shared with anybody. I would say, well, I had 3 people who had this problem, but you'll never be identified. I'm not using it for any email list to pass out to anybody. It's only really if you ask me a question, or I want to get a hold of you and say, and there's a place to check. In fact, let's just go through that. So it says check all that apply. You may contact me by phone. So if you put a phone number, then you would need to check that, or I won't ever call you, okay? Because I want the permission first. I don't want you to think I'm going to infringe on anything. Same with your email. Would you like to be a part of a group or class? I got such a blessing kind of prepping for this that I would like to do an ongoing class. That's me personally, and I'm going to start doing that. And if I'm by myself, and me and my wife will do it that way. But if I had people to join me, that'd be all the more exciting. I haven't asked the church about meeting here yet, so I'd have to get permission for that. If this is the best place to meet, our home would be wide open. You're welcome to come to our home. We do live a little ways away down in Apopka, but I like home-style things, it's a lot of fun. A place to get together and share and watch some health DVDs and just keep inspired about keeping our bodies pure for God and being sanctified, getting ready for His second coming. So that's what that'll be about. So it says, I would like to view the complete fasting video. Fasting can save your life. Now, I made a mistake here already. I see that. The one you're going to get is called, Is Water Fasting Safe? I have a second one that says Fasting Can Save Your Life. That's the one mentioned here. So I misspoke. But this one, Fasting Can Save Your Life, is personal testimonies of people who have done this and the benefits they're deriving. It's pretty amazing to watch, from extreme headaches, migraine headaches, to lymphoma cures. And I'm not one of these that, take this drug and it cures everything. And I'm not going to say that it'll cure all lymphomas. But this one clinic has had good results. This clinic has been running for over 30 years. They train doctors and they take people in. And it's a wonderful clinic. But I'll be telling you a little bit more about that as we go. Areas of interest presented today, if you'd be so kind, when you fill this out. And if you can't get this to me right away and you want to email it to me, the results, or personal health challenges I would like more info on. And again, areas of interest presented today I would like to learn more about. Okay, again, I'm not a doctor, so don't think if you say, oh, I got a gallbladder problem, that I'm going to call you up and tell you what to do about it, okay? It just isn't my thing. I love health, and I love reading and learning myself, and I hope you're one of those kind of people. And so I want to share with you resources that I've developed and have through the years, and I'd be happy. Well, I happen to have one on gallbladders, if I did, and I would hand that to you and say, watch it and tell me if you learn from it. And I'm having trouble with arthritis. You get something, share it with me. So it's all about growing and learning. Questions or comments I have, all this will really help me. Okay, so I am Randy Allen is our first slide up. I'm hoping it's going to show back there too, so I can. Okay, so will the thing on the left disappear, which is all the slides? There we go. So arthritis and autoimmune disease recovery. If you're comfortable, I'd like to just ask how many people have arthritis, have had an autoimmune disease. Lupus. Help me out. What are some other ones? Fibromyalgia. Scleroderma. Any others? I mean, there's a list. I should have made a list of them all, you know, and you might say, oh yeah, I have that one. But the autoimmune diseases, great. Psoriasis, thank you. That's a common one.
I have polymyalgia
Polymyalgia rheumatica, okay. MS, okay.
Is Parkinson one of those?
I don't believe it's an autoimmune disease, but like I said, the stuff I share with you, one other woman who had to leave, she said that she'd never heard anybody, a doctor, or anybody address some of the issues she has for finding solutions. And I said, well, watch this DVD because you never know. Maybe the Lord brought you here today, or she's going home to watch it, but maybe that's why the Lord wanted to show you this. And we'll talk more about that. Okay, let's get started. So I'm a fellow sufferer. Okay, here's a word. Oh, good. I thought it was going to be about arthritis. It's going to be about intimacy. Well, the first time I saw this word intimacy, all I thought of was things like, you know, the bedroom and you shouldn't talk about it. But I've learned different, and I'd like to share something. If you take this word and you split it apart, you get intimacy. Okay, now I'm going to do a little clever thing I saw someone else do once, and I'm going to drop a couple letters here and put a couple words, a couple other letters in there, and you come up with this, intimacy. It sounds a lot like intimacy, doesn't it? And that's actually what intimacy means. It's allowing your spouse or even someone else to see what's in your heart and what you're dealing with. And probably the best person to do that with is Jesus Christ. To be intimate with Him, He wants to be intimate with you. He's already pretty much done that in His life here on this earth to show you inside of Himself. Intimacy. So intimacy, intimacy, intimacy. Now, that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to let you see inside of me because, as I said, I'm a fellow sufferer. I'm not up here as a doctor to tell you, do this, do this, do this. You know, you may walk away from here and say, nothing he said today applies to me. And that's okay. I hope that isn't the case. But, and then you might find out this was a lifesaver for you. I hope that. And hopefully, as it says in number 2 there, hopefully it's to see into you. Okay? And maybe it's for you to take a hard look at yourself and maybe even open up to someone else, your spouse, or the appropriate person, and let them see something into you. And that's a little bit what I was talking about in a group, is that sometimes you can share with one another. Oh, because I found a lot of times, you know, people who have a particular problem don't really like to talk about it or be kind of singled out. But if I share that I have that same problem, then they'll come to you, really, you've got that too? And then it's suddenly like they're just wide open and they're ready to talk to you on and on. Okay, so but what brought you here today? 3 things, unfortunately, many times the top 3 motivators to improve health are these 3 things right here: pain, disability, and fear of death. How many have had, this is an interactive thing, how many of you have had one of these things get your attention to think about health? Do you mind raising your hand? Yeah. Pain, disability, fear of death. I had much pain. I was starting to become very disabled. I was afraid I was going to be in a wheelchair in a matter of days. Early days, it was going on me so fast. And I, of course, kind of thought about the fear of death. Okay, so let me tell you just a tiny bit about my journey. I think I mentioned in there, and this is one of the things why I was hoping that maybe if you're not here for any other reason, it's to think about kids or think about your grandkids or your great-grandkids or any kids you have influence over. Because from 0 to 16 years of age, I ate a heavy meat diet. That's what our family did. You know, we used to fight over who got the bone out of the steak and stuff like that, you know. And lots of sugar, soda pops, you know. My grandmother made these chocolate cakes that were, I shouldn't do this right to you, right? Like 12-layer chocolate cakes, you know. I mean, it was just so much chocolate in it, and they were so good. And someone said to me once, you know, isn't that kind of rich? I said, rich? What do you mean rich? And they said, that's when it's too sweet. I said, too sweet? Hand me another slice. It's like, that's how I was. But I was very athletic, football teams and stuff, did a lot of gymnastics, and I weighed about 165 pounds when I was 16 years old, 15, 16. I'd reached that weight, and I was one of those blessed people that I've maintained 165 pounds right up until I was 50. Now, I'm not 50 anymore, I'm 64. So in those years from 50, or really about 48 to 64, things started changing for me. And if you're not there yet, believe me, if you're not watching your health, you'll start finding those things that are going to start happening to you. Things that probably then only you, your wife, or the other case, your husband, knows about, and you don't want to talk about it because it can be rather embarrassing at times. So I always listed myself, anytime I list a questionnaire, health excellent, health excellent, health excellent. I did that for 50 years, health excellent, health excellent. And part of my regimen is I was always walking. And when I walked, I used to admire piano teachers or people who played the piano. Their fingers were so nimble, and I've seen, little old ladies, in their 80s, and their fingers are still ripping across the, and I'm like, I can't do that, and I'm only 40. And so I was always impressed. So I thought, well, I can't play a piano, so when I walk, I'm going to do this. So I walked, and I would just open and close my arms. I actually ran as long as I could. Later, as I got arthritis and couldn't, had to go back to walking. My knees are pretty bad shape. So always moving my hands like that. One day I was walking, moving my hands like that, and my little pinky here, it kind of caught on my shirt. And I mean, I let out a blood-curdling cry. And when I was around people and this would happen, they would look at me like I was some strange duck. But I'm telling you what, this little pinky right here and that one joint hurt so bad, it just felt like, I don't know how to describe it, somebody's in there with a nail just digging in the middle of your joint or something. If you have arthritis and experience that, you know just what I'm talking about. It was excruciating. But like I said, I wouldn't have to do something heavy duty, just turn and catch, like on my tie, like that much. Just a little brush. And I just had to stop and just sit there and kind of cry and scream and yell and whatever I had to do to try to relieve that pain. It was horrible. And I thought, what's that about? What's that about? I didn't go to a doctor. I'd never been to doctors, really. I'm a healthy guy. I'm excellent health. So I was going along, and I kept walking, moving my hands as much as I could, and all of a sudden, my other little pinky. I since then learned that a lot of times that's one of the signals of certain types of arthritis. You have osteo and rheumatoid, and I've had a lot of doctors look at me, and they haven't really classified exactly what I have. I must have a little mixture of both, but it hit both pinkies. And I don't know if you can see from there, but when I got my hand shut, it's like my pinky hangs down there. It doesn't shut any more than that. I can't even, I can shut my hand, I can still stick my finger in it. That's as much as my hand shuts. Same on this hand. Okay, but then it went into my shoulder. I was a carpenter. I had left teaching in 2000, became a carpenter. I was having to lift plywood up on houses. All of a sudden, this arm quit moving. It wouldn't go higher than this. Now, I could go over to a wall and climb up the wall with my fingers, get my arm up there, and I had all my strength, and I could let plywood down as heavy as you wanted, just bring it on down. But I could not get, when I pushed, up higher than that. So that really scared me. Then I went to my knee one day. I fell down. I fall down all the time. I mean, just casual things. If you trip on something, and I kind of hit my knee. But my knee swelled up, and it looked like I had a tennis ball glued on it. Now, I had all these pictures on there, and I was afraid to slide, that this was going to turn into a whole, just nothing about me and all my pictures. And I didn't want this too long, so I cut that stuff out. I can gladly share it with anybody. But these are real things that happened to me. And so at that point, as the arthritis was getting into my shoulders, and I was having so much pain and in my knees and in all my fingers that I decided I'd better go to a doctor. So I went to a family practitioner. He referred me to an orthopedist. This is in Walla Walla, Washington. This orthopedic doctor said, yeah, he said, your shoulder, you got this. They took x-rays and everything, of course. Oh, yeah, you got a bone spur in there, and, we need to operate. We need to cut that, shave that off, get rid of that, and you'll be good to go, I'm like, I don't think I got a bone spur. I don't know. But so I didn't do anything about it then. I'm slow to do surgery because I don't even really like to go to doctors. So then after that, I was still in so much pain. He says, well, we need to start giving you injections in your finger. So I'd go in there, and they would pull on each joint like that. They'd give me a shot in each joint, cortisone. Okay, every single one, every finger, every joint like that. So I was going in, I went in like every 3 months to get, well, I did it 3 months. He said, you may be back. Sure enough, 3 months, I'm back. He does it again. 3 months back, and it seemed like maybe it was 2 months, I'm hurting, and he says, well, come in again, we'll do it a little more frequent. And then it got down to where it was like every 6 weeks, and then it was like every few weeks, all these shots, and I was like, I'm not getting better. Yeah, I don't have any pain for a few days, but man, I'm getting worse. And it was starting to hit me so hard that I thought, it's so fast, it was starting to attack all my fingers, and if you come up later and study my fingers, you'll see what I'm talking about, the crookedness, the swelling, all the pain involved. And so I thought, I'm going to be a cripple. I got to do something. So let me keep on my things here. This is a little saying I wanted you to consider. Health is not necessarily the absence of disease. For you see, for 50 years I had no signs of disease, and I thought I was in excellent health. But it cannot be the case, because I don't think you get sick overnight. What would you say about that? Yeah. When I turned 40, I went through the most stressful year of my life. I started a new job. I bought a house. The house fell through. A few months later, my wife left me for another man, left me with 3 kids to raise. My parents came and tried to help me. A few weeks later, my mother got cancer, liver cancer. She died 6 weeks later. My wife came back into the house, but not to be with me, just to have a place to hang her hat. And so there was men in and out of our lives, and it just got to be a nightmare. And finally I said, I'm out of here, I got to go. You want to come with me, that's fine, but we're going to leave the men behind. So she said, do whatever you want, I'm not going with you. So I packed up myself, the 3 kids, the dog, and the cat, moved back to California, tried to get a fresh start. She showed up a few months later, waited a year to get residency, filed for divorce, got the kids, which I didn't understand because she was living a very, very wild lifestyle at that time. I was still teaching in Seventh-day Adventist school system. I had the kids in school, everything was going fine, but then my kids start coming to school. I haven't eaten. I didn't get to sleep in my own bed last night. I was sleeping on some man's couch. And it just, you talk about stress that year, I just went off the charts. I think that all these things start setting you up, stress for disease and for problems. I don't say that because my problems are any worse than yours, but I know if I got each one of you in a private conversation, you could tell me stories equally horrible. That's enough of that. I don't even like talking about that much. So I turned 50, I celebrated, went to the beach with my girlfriend Sandy. Well, I said, but anyways, I'm going to show you a picture of me and her on the beach. So that's Sandy, and you can see she's, got some good curves there going on in the sand. So I don't stay on that one too long. I hope you had your eye on Sandy and not the size of my waist. Okay? But I promised you I was going to be intimacy, so I'm going to let you see some things. I don't like sharing. Okay. I didn't think I'd get emotional. So this is the first time I saw myself as I was. At that point, I'm no longer nice, trim, and slim 165. I don't even know what year it started because I still considered myself to be kind of excellent health. And I got this picture that someone obviously took and shared with me, and I looked at myself and I'm like, who is that beluga whale sitting next to Sandy? It's like, that's me. And at that point, I was 230 pounds. Okay, so I don't know how, I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but it didn't happen over, eons of time either. 4, 5, 6 years, man, I just started suddenly, I think as I turned 50, it just started, or getting close to 50, it started packing on. No longer could I just eat two or three sandwiches, now I got to start looking for other solutions. It wants to stay there. Okay, so you don't get big and remain healthy. I believe that's true. Remember, health is not necessarily the absence of disease, but I'm going to be a little bolder here and say you don't get skinny and remain healthy if you're not doing things right. Some people are blessed and stay skinny right up to the day they die, and others of us have to struggle with our weight. I'm actually a weight struggler now. And so when I was 50 there, that's when the arthritis strikes. Oh, I do have a picture in here of my niece all swollen up there. Looks like a tennis ball on the end of it. That lasted quite a while. So I started off with the orthopedic physician, went to another ortho specialist. All they do is kept shooting me up, shooting me up, shooting me up. Well, I said, finally, I'm done with that. Well, you need to go to an arthritis specialist. So I went to an arthritis specialist. I don't think you'd ever know him in a million years. His name was Dr. Peacock. It's kind of a fun name. So I went to him, and I spent lots and lots and lots and lots of money and many tests. And then I came back for a final consultation, and he walked in. I'll never forget. He sat there, and he took me by my hands, and he was holding my hands, and he looked me in the face, and he says, Randy, he says, I don't really know how to tell you this, but you have arthritis. I wanted to hit the guy. I got arthritis. I mean, I figured that out years ago. You know, I just spent all that money, and that's what you're going to tell me. What do I do about it? Well, we can give you more shots, and we have a more powerful shot now. And you know, the needle there, I thought that was a great picture. That was my experience. So you can treat the symptoms, or you can treat the causes. All the shots were treating all my symptoms, not the causes. Okay? One doctor, this Dr. Edward Group, he's actually going to be the guy interviewing the other one on the video that you're going to watch, or that I'm going to hand out to you. So this is this Dr. Edward Group. He says, I firmly believe in the definition of doctor should be one who teaches, not one who prescribes. Now notice, it was a doctor who said this, so don't think I'm anti-doctor. I'm just against not looking for the cause, so that health can be regained and not returned. And the blessing of the nation is that more and more doctors are now starting to find fulfillment in that kind of approach. But believe me, it's hard to find the cause. Most things in our world today, you know, sometimes I get sick and my wife said, well, let's go to the doctor and find out what it is. And I said, I don't want to go. Well, why? And we've struggled with this still, you know. And I said, because I go there and they'll tell me what I got, the name of it, but then what? You know, that isn't the cause. And believe me, God fearfully and wonderfully made us. We're very complicated. It's very hard to figure out things. Anybody know the name T. Colin Campbell? He wrote the China Study. Very brilliant man. I had a chance to attend a seminar, and he stayed at some friends of mine's house, and so I got to meet him personally. I got his phone number. I called him up one day and tried to get some information about, like, taking vitamins. I wanted to know, should I be taking vitamins and things, to supplements, you know, because I was afraid a lot of people tell you you're low in this and you're low in that, you know. And so I called him up and no answer, went to voicemail, and months later I thought, oh, I'll never hear from him. One day I was at the beach of all places. I had gone into Fresh Market for lunchtime, and I was getting some fresh fruits and vegetables, and my phone rang, and I pulled out my cell phone, and he says, is this Randy? I said, yeah, it is. Like, who is this? You know, I don't recognize the number. He says, it's T. Colin Campbell. I said, T. Colin Campbell? And he says, yeah, I feel so sorry that I haven't called you back. I said, just a minute, man. I dropped all my groceries. I went running out to the car, sat in the car. He talked to me for a full hour. Okay, very personable. Now this guy, I think, is brilliant as they come. I mean, in his field, he's really studied up on it. I asked him this question about supplements. I said, I'm kind of leaning away from doing that. What do you think? And he says, Randy, I think you're on the right track. And he says, the reason I say that is, he says, scientists and doctors, researchers today study most everything in isolation. And I said, isolation, what does that mean? And he says, for instance, we'll take vitamin B6. And he says, so there's so many hormones and so many enzymes, and we're so fearfully and wonderfully made, there's no way that we can study all the ramifications. So we just study just B6 in this narrow little window. And we find out, oh yeah, you need it, and it helps do this. He said, so then we say, okay, you're low in this, then you better take this. He said, but what they don't know is that if you take extra B6 in way of form of a pill, what does that throw off? How does it work with vitamin C, vitamin D, your sleep, your rest? I mean, 100 things, thousands of things. He says, we have no idea. But they can make some money off selling B6, and so, you know, that's the way they do it. And so, I'm not trying to say, like in every case, you know, so again, I'm not a doctor and telling you just go home and drop all your pills off, but I'm just sharing with you intimacy. This is my story, okay? And you can have a story, and if you choose to adopt some of the things that I found, that's fine. If you don't, there's no hard feelings, okay? So he said, yeah, stay with a whole plant food diet, and he says you'll get all your vitamins and all your minerals and stuff if you're eating a good variety of good, wholesome whole foods. So I decided I better try a new approach. So I started reading and educating myself. How Not to Die, The Immune Fix, Green for Life, Raw Foods, How to Never Be Sick Again, No Happy Cows, Food is Your Best Medicine, Fasting, Vibrant Health, Fresh Vegetable Juices. I mean, I've gone through the gamut, and I've read, and I've still got a lot of these books. I've given a lot of them away, but I still have a goodly stack. I took that picture yesterday to share with you. Then I got my video collection. I've got literally hundreds of videos and DVDs on all this kind of stuff, and I've watched and watched and watched how to eliminate sickness, how to get rid of cancer, how to do this, do that. My mom died of cancer at 60 years old, and I was like, that's coming up quick, you know. It's like, am I going to die like her, you know, get cancer, and you're always thinking about it, and get a little ache. I wonder if that's, you know, my liver, and I wonder, you know, my wife gets concerned about it, and that's how life goes, right? Then I started going to clinics. Anybody know about Hallelujah Acres? Okay, good. So that was a Baptist minister. His mother was a nurse. She died. She went through chemo radiation. She died. Then he got a tumor the size of a baseball. And he says, oh, I'm next. He was a minister, a Baptist minister. He said, Lord, this isn't right. I'm a minister. I shouldn't get sick. You know, I'm trying to do everything right. And I pray to you, and, you know, like, what's going on? And so he was doing this real desperate search, you know, and he ran across somebody who said, you know, you ought to look into diet. And so he changed his diet, and he went quite a bit raw and went to definitely all whole foods, fresh foods, and his tumor went away. Now, I don't know if it can go away never. In his case, it did. He got so on fire, he started this place. He dropped the ministry and went into this full-time. Hallelujah Acres is out now in North Carolina. It's a powerful thing. I don't want to do this because I want to stay on track, but I am going to pull off that for just 1 second. One of the times I was at Hallelujah Acres, and George Malcolmus is the guy that runs it, and it's small enough you get to know everybody, and so, you know, he's interviewing all of us, and there was about 100 of us there all talking, and I told my story of how I was finding relief from arthritis. And as it went around the circle and got over here to like the 85th guy, he got up and he gave his testimony. And it was my testimony exactly. He did all the same treatments, and I'm going to share that with you in a second, but all the exact same things. And I was just blown away. Then the lady next to him started talking. She was from Africa. She was a physician. She had traveled over here specifically to take this course. And she said, I want to tell you something. Now, she said, I had a dream. My patients were all dying, and I didn't know how to treat them. It seemed like nothing I would do would help them get well. And she said, I had a dream that there was a place in the United States, and the Lord showed me there's this huge tree on the property, and I remember seeing some buildings, but there was no identifying mark or anything. And so she actually, one time when she was with her pastor, turns out this lady was a Seventh-day Adventist. A little bit of a spoiler at the beginning there, but she said, I went to my pastor and I was talking to him and I told him about this dream I had that was just so vivid. And he said, I think I know where that place is. And she's like, what? My dream? You know where it is? He says, yeah, there's this place in North Carolina. And he says, I think that's the place. I've been there, and what you're describing for me sounds just like it. So he put her in touch. She flew over there. When she got there, she said it was exactly how it was in her dream. It so impressed me. And then she says, but wait, let me tell you one more thing. She said Hallelujah Acres had moved. So when I had the dream, they had not even purchased their new property that had this tree on it. So the Lord actually showed me in advance the property, the tree, and the buildings that weren't even built yet. That talk about what God can do, and gave her this vision. She came and learned, went back, and has been helping many people through the Whole Foods natural lifestyle. Very impressive. I felt a very strong impression. I actually went to Black Hills too. I was thinking that was in here, but I became a health coach. Not because I feel like, my idea again as a coach is I might just try to steer you. If you talk to me and say, well, have you tried this? You might go this. But I'm not going to be giving you advice. I'm not a doctor, okay? But a coach to stand behind you and say, keep persevering, let's go forward. So I felt a very strong impression from God through all my reading and education that I needed to take immediate action or soon I'd be disabled. I was, of course, praying, and what I happened upon, I give God the credit for. So my plan, what did I do? Well, I want to share with you, God made our bodies to heal themselves. I think most of you know that. You cut yourself, your cut heals. You get a tooth problem and you get it treated, get the infection away and it'll heal. God's 8 natural remedies. And I ended up going to Weimar, and I was at Weimar for 4 years. And this was mentioned this morning, the New Start concept. And so each of these letters stands for one of the 8 natural remedies. The first one, N for nutrition, E for exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, trust in God. Now, okay, so I want to focus a little bit here on the nutrition and the water and the temperance and the rest and the trust in God. That's about 5 of them here. The Lord took me to this. Without having a doctor tell me, just based on stuff I was reading and the testimonies of other people, I decided I was going to fast. Now, I forgot to tell you, remember back that year where 1993, it was my life of hell when everything that year happened. Okay, I got so upset from all that stuff, I stopped eating. And I didn't stop eating to lose weight. I stopped eating because life didn't even mean anything anymore. I actually lost my job, and I started walking through town every day, all day long, in a very private place, because all I could do was weep very openly, but nobody was around, so I felt like I could do that, and I didn't eat for 10 days, okay? Honestly didn't miss it, because I wasn't interested in food. I really at that point didn't care if I'd die or not, but partly having that experience, and then later reading and stuff, I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fast, and then I'm going to try this raw food diet. And a person told me, they said, you know, you need to wait till a few things happen before you do that. And I said, you know what? I'm doing it today. I'm starting, because I said, look at me, man. I'm a mess. And my weight and everything is going crazy. So I fasted. I fasted for 10 days. Now, if you're not familiar with a water fast, which is what I did, I drank nothing but water for 10 days. I didn't go to work. I just stayed home, drank water. That's all I did for 10 days. I made a decision, this is what I'm going to do. And I heard the pastor talk about that this morning, if you were here. If you understand the true power of the will, and believe me, it's not our own power, it's the power God gives us. But He gives us a power, and we don't, and believe me, there's a difference. Because I have sat around and say, Lord, help me to stop eating chocolate. Help me to stop eating so many donuts. You know, when I go get a whole pack of Little Debbie's and I consume the whole package and I'm thinking about a second package, why do I do that? You know, take this away from me. Take it away from me. He's never taken it away from me. But when I reach this point, okay, we talk about fear of death, disability, okay, I said, I'm done. And you know what? When I said I'm done and I went on this program, piece of cake, man. I went through 10 days, nothing, okay. At the end of the 10 days, I was looking to the raw diet to kind of get me going. I was kind of doing the fasting as a cleanse. At the end of the 10 days, all my arthritis pain was gone. Gone. But you know what? I was so excited and so hepped up that I decided that I'm going to go on this raw food diet. But before to do that, I decided I got to kind of kick into that, and eating a bunch of fresh stuff like that doesn't really sound all that great. I mean, I love apples and bananas and stuff, but just all the time, I mean, you know, I'm a real person, right? Okay, so I was like, I'm just going to I'm going to drink carrot juice. I've been reading a lot about juicing. So I started getting up in the morning and I would juice one of these whole giant bags. The people at the market would say, "You got horses?" I was like, "No." So I'm juicing all these carrots, and I made 3 of these large canteens of carrot juice every morning, and I went back to work. I was a contractor doing very, very hard physical work, and I did nothing but drink the juice. Pretty much every hour, 2 hours, I would drink a cup of it to get a little energy, and I'd just go right on. Okay, people say, "How in the world can you do that? It must be horrible. How can you stand?" I said, "Actually, I'm feeling better than I've ever felt in my life." And so I went the month and a half, I documented that, drinking nothing but carrot juice. Did you turn orange? No, it doesn't work that way. You eat string beans, you don't turn green either. So anyways, I did that for the month and a half. At the end of the month and a half, I'm telling you, I woke up one morning and I thought, I didn't get up to use the bathroom last night. I slept all night. Now that for me is unbelievable. A little more intimacy here. I wet the bed up into college every night of my life, sometimes twice. Now, a young man, does not do that by choice. I would stop drinking water at 2 in the afternoon to try to keep that from happening. I couldn't go on Pathfinders. I tried it once, wet my sleeping bag. What a mess, you know. If any of you have ever been to camp or out camping, you know other kids must have this problem too, because every mattress, right, has stains on it, so it must be happening. It's not just me. And I've decided to be a little bit more open about it. So my doctor said that there was a hormone that you're missing, and usually it kicks in earlier in people, so they stop like in, 3 or 4 or 2 or something like that, And so I didn't have this hormone. And so, but thankfully, by the time I got to college, right about the time I got married, it kind of stopped. And it was very, very infrequent after that. And then after that, now this hormone evidently wakes you up. And so I still have to urinate every night, but at least I wake up, right? Don't wet the bed. My son inherited this from me, and by now they had a nose spray, and I guess it's so, your nose and your brain are so close or whatever, it just goes right to the brain. And so this helped him, and so he quit wetting the bed early on, and he didn't have to suffer some of the trauma that I did being a bedwetter for my whole life. And I go to college and I got plastic sheets on my bed. And, "What do you got, plastic sheets? You wet the bed?" "Oh, give me a break, man. Do you see those beds, how dirty they are? I don't want to sleep on that stuff." I had all the right excuses. I'd wet the bed. My roommate was right there. Well, what'd I do? I learned, I was Mission Impossible. I was Tom Cruise. I could get up at night so quiet, so stealthily, take off my clothes, put new clothes on, change all my sheets, put them back on, get back in bed, and nobody knew the difference. If I saw in the shadows, I thought my roommate was stirring, I'd just freeze. And I'd stand there in the dark until I knew he was asleep and I could hear him breathing again. And then I'd go through my process again. So you get these traumas, these stresses that you go through in life, and they impact. And I know that you guys have stresses and they take toils. And unfortunately for me, my stresses went that I solved it through chocolate and junk food. Now, if I had ever been introduced to alcohol or drugs, I'm sure I would not be alive today. But fortunately or unfortunately, it was sugar, and I'm still alive. But I would challenge anybody, if you've ever ate more sugar than me on any given day, when I get stressed. Now, I can tell myself it's bad, I'm a Christian, I'm not going to do it. But then I can get back into it, and and it's like you say, I can eat like 2 packages of Little Debbie's, and I'm still looking for stuff to get that high to get me out of my depression. Of course, we all know sugar is going to drop you right back down, and you go through this whole cycle. Then you beat yourself up, and Lord forgive me, and then I go 2 months without anything, and then boom, I'm back into it. So the whole addictive cycle is I'm sure Satan has that down to a science. So then I went on a raw food diet after the 10 days of fasting, a month and a half on carrot juice. All my problems were solved. Went on the raw food diet, and I ate nothing but raw things. Did I eat potatoes that weren't cooked? No, I never even thought about that. I ate a lot of apples, oranges, lettuce. I had a big salad, this big. It seemed like every day. I had a friend do it with me, and he and I'd get together, and we'd cut up all these mangoes and all this wonderful fruit and put it all on the salad. That's yummy, man, mangoes on salad. And man, we'd just down it. We invented, heard it through somebody else who didn't invent it, but I adopted it, the gorilla burrito. You know what that is? Take a nice big leaf of romaine lettuce and cut some big chunks of mango and lay it in there and roll it up and eat that. I'm telling you what, that's to die for, to live for. So quite an experience. The results. Okay, I haven't even had to look at my notes. That's a good thing. Or maybe it's a bad thing. I need to read them. I'm just going to read you some of the things that disappeared for me. Let me check here real quick. No, so I have to just read it to you. But arthritis gone. The redness was gone, the swelling was gone, the pain was gone. My urinating at night stopped. My weight went from 230, and I went back to 190 in that month and a half plus the 10 days. So right about 2 months, I was down 40 pounds. I lost the rest when I went on the raw food diet and went back down to my old 165, 170 weight. The scalp problems, I used to have little places on my scalp they would never heal. They just went away. My breath became pure. I used to have a bad breath problem. Can't imagine eating all that sugar that I have a bad breath problem. But anyways, I spent thousands of dollars trying to figure out how to get rid of the bad breath. Used to drink green chlorophyll, buy bottles of green chlorophyll, drink that. I mean, I went to so many doctors, spent thousands of dollars, literally thousands of dollars, trying to figure out how to do that. And they'd give me everything you can imagine to purify my breath. Well, where's your breath come from? It comes from your stomach, your intestines. It's like your body trying to get rid of this stuff. You clean up down here, then this problem goes away. So my breath became pure again. My knee swelling went away. My shoulder, never had surgery, okay? So I don't know where that bone spur went to. I guess it disappeared. So I'm happy about that. My vision got better. You know, as you get a little older, you start needing your reading glasses. That went away. Here's one that was interesting, postnasal drip. I don't know if any of you or you know anybody, my nose was always wet on the end. Kissed my wife, she's like, oh, you got me wet, you know? It's like kind of disgusting, but it's like I couldn't, you know, it's like you just think you got it forever. And my dad had it, and I thought I inherited it from my dad. That's nothing to get rid of, it's just part of genetics, right? Well, that stopped. No more postnasal drip. I had a toenail fungus on my big toe that was starting to get kind of serious. That cleared up, went away. My mental clearness, brain fog. Anybody can say they get rid of that, but I mean, it was true for me. My skin cleared up. I had rashes all over my belly and on my legs where people couldn't see, and it's like it would just never go away. I went to the doctor. They'd pick it with a little scalpel thing, you know, and then put medicine on there to try to, and it would just never, it would just always go, like in your underwear line, or it was just terrible. That just all cleared up, all went away. On just staying with this kind of diet. So things that I've learned. Health is a result of healthful living. Now I don't really think I'm not preaching to you because I think most of you are going to know everything that I'm about to say. Health is a result of healthful living. Dietary excess, both from the standpoint of excess good and bad foods. Now this is the one the Lord's been really convicting me on. I've been vegan except for one couple years in my life where I went through all that divorce stuff, that I've been vegan since I was 16. Well, you're vegan, man. How'd you get all these health issues? Guess what? Sugar's vegan, right? Right? Somebody else, the other lady back there told me a little while ago, they said marijuana's vegan, cigarettes are vegan. You know, it's like, that's kind of a cop-out. Not vegan, whole plant foods. That's where you want to be, not refined products. So we are what we eat. You've all learned that. Okay, very important principle. If you have a health problem and you're interested in getting out of that hole, the first job is to stop digging. You got to stop digging. Now, I just want to tell you, because there is a false theology that's floating around that says you can't do anything. I'm going to tell you the pastor honestly, he scared me a little bit this morning. He was up front and he says, you can't do anything of yourself. And I don't know if you heard me, but I was sitting right there and I said, what? And then he said, without Christ. I was like, okay. I know that Christ is in us, but I'm telling you, God has given every single one of us the power of choice. He died to give you that power. Now, I'm not going to say anything's wrong with kneeling and praying when you're struggling. But I'm telling you, when you get afraid you're going to die, or you're afraid you're going to get disability, and things get really serious, you know, you got lung cancer and you got 3 weeks to live, you know, it's like suddenly you can find new impetus and you go, I'm not smoking anymore, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing that. And you can stop. God gives you that power to do. And it's within you to do it and to use it. And the sad thing is if we do it and we don't give Him glory. But definitely He's the one that's given it to us. We do reap what we sow, but not everything we reap is from what we personally choose to sow. You know, bad things do happen to good people. So you can't go around looking at people and say, oh, you got that problem. Well, you must be doing something wrong. Because you may not be doing anything wrong. Satan can be hassling you. Or you could have inherited something that was given to you, that you're not doing it, it just happened to you. So, the Savior and His miracles revealed the power that is continually at work in man's behalf to sustain and heal him. Sickness, suffering, and death are the work of an antagonistic power. Satan is the destroyer. God is the restorer. The desire of God for every human being is expressed in the words, Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Do you remember when Christ healed people? Many times He would look at them and He'd say, Go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. Okay, so I'm going to confess to you right now, I still have arthritis. I got cured, and I got so good and so happy that I started living life abundantly, doing whatever I wanted, my work again. My work was thriving. And one day I forgot to take my lunch with me, a nice good lunch, and I saw Taco Bell, and I thought, oh, I'll go to Taco Bell. Just today, just this once. So I stopped in Taco Bell, and I got a couple burritos, hold the cheese, don't want any sour cream, doing the good vegan thing there, just the beans, and some tomatoes and onions, and I thought that was fine. I don't know what's in the rest of that stuff, but I'm telling you what, I started down the slippery slope. Started going down, down, down. Then a few days later, I forgot my lunch again. Went to Taco Bell again. Pretty soon I'm eating at Taco Bell all the time. Supposedly eating good stuff, but I'm telling you what, my health started rapidly declining. It wasn't very long before one day I decided, I need a little candy bar. That'll help me feel a little better right now. I'm hungry, and this is the only thing there at Home Depot, so I'll grab that, And so first thing you know, I'm a downward course. And you know what? I just hate to tell you, but I'm that guy. A worse thing has come upon me. I've got arthritis now, and it's a little harder variety now. I've tried so many other things, but I haven't gone back to fasting yet. I've tried fasting twice, and I tried doing it on my own. And I'm not encouraging any of you to ever try fasting on your own if you do it more than 3 days. 3 days, your body's just burning up the stuff that you already got, and I don't think anybody could probably go wrong in 3 days. But if you get into after that, you don't want to be... You want to stop the exercise entirely, bed rest, etc. And so there's a whole science to that. So you don't want to just advocating people run out of here and start fasting or anything. What happened here? Why is it that men are so unwilling to trust Him who created man, who can by a touch, a word, a look, heal all manner of disease? Who is more worthy of our confidence than the one who made so great a sacrifice for our redemption? Our Lord has given us definite instruction through the Apostle James as to our duty in case of sickness. When human help fails, and I want to notice that when human help fails, I believe God gives us the 8 natural remedies. I think we should do everything we can. We need to lay aside things that so easily beset us. We have plenty of counsel and all that. But when that happens, it says God will be the helper of His people. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church. Let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith might save the sick, shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up. I'm kind of hanging on this right now. I'm going to be contacting the elders myself. But before I do that, I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can in terms of letting go of things that I know are hurting me. If the professed followers of Christ would, with purity of heart, exercise as much faith in the promises of God as they repose in satanic agencies, they would realize in soul and body the life-giving power of the Holy Spirit. Okay, so I've already given you the handout and questionnaire, and so I went through these 3 things with you. If there is a clipboard that Jeremy, you mind just standing up? Everybody turn around just for a second. Look at Jerry here. So this handsome man here, he's got the clipboard. If you've never signed up for these kind of health talks and you would like to be on a mailing list, then sign up. Many of you have already signed up, and that's how you became aware of today's program. So it's not for everybody to sign, just people that have never signed up before. That is something the pastor asked me, and they will just mail out something to you if you put your name on that. The second thing is my questionnaire. I would ask that you fill it out. Not mandatory. No one's going to grade you on this. And then we're going to have a question and answer. So at this point, I want to show you just a couple minutes, maybe just about 10, 12 minutes of some video. If you could start that video. This is the two doctors talking that'll be on the video that's on your handout that you can go home and watch, or I can give you one here. So that before you start, before you hit play there, the guy on the left is Alan Goldhammer. He's the one that's been running the True North Health Clinic. It's in Santa Rosa, California. I used to live there. And this man has really studied the science of it. They've had, he said, 16,000 people go through their program, fasting. But sometimes they come and they just put them on raw foods. Sometimes they come and put them on steamed foods. They don't just have a cookie cutter program. They do it for what you need. You might have health needs. You've got to fill out health questionnaires before you go there. The fees are really minimal compared to what hospital stay could be. It's $100 a day. You stay there. Oh, they don't give you all the food you can eat. It's fasting. But anyways, it's a very good program. And we're going to hear about it just a little bit. The guy on the right is not directly associated. He's actually a doctor himself, and he's interviewing Alan Goldhammer. And we'll listen to just a few minutes of this if you would start it.
So that's why you want to establish those parameters. Wherever or however you're fasting, that's the first step. The second thing is you need to lead into fasting properly. You don't want to arbitrarily discontinue, for example, medications that you've been on, because the negative effect of too rapidly withdrawing a drug, for example, steroid medications or prednisone, can be really devastating. So leading in properly, in our case, means eating a whole plant food, SOS-free diet. So SOS is the international symbol of danger, but it also stands for salt, oil, and sugar, which are the chemicals we add to food that stimulate the dopamine production in our brain and leads us to overeating. And in fact, is one of the reasons why people have these conditions of dietary excess to begin with, because they're overeating highly concentrated foods in order to stimulate that dopamine or pleasure response, and they literally can become addicted to this artificial stimulation. So now they're not just eating this food to try to feel good, they have to keep eating it in order to avoid feeling bad, kind of the hallmark of addiction. So that means before fasting, we're eating a whole plant food, SOS-free diet. We're trying to wean down appropriately medications. It's usually a good idea to talk to the person that prescribed the medications in the first place about the appropriate way and the appropriate time to try to withdraw those medications. Now, I know that's a bit of a problem, because if you go to, for example, a traditional medical doctor with high blood pressure or diabetes or autoimmune diseases, they're going to tell you to do exactly what you're told, and they will guarantee you that you'll never get well. They'll promise you, if you do what you're told, you'll be sick forever, you'll be on drugs the rest of your life. So if you walk in and say, well, no, I'd like to get off the drugs, in their experience, it might be they've never seen anybody get well. And so they don't understand that there's a pathway to health that doesn't involve continuing to take drugs for the rest of your life. But once you overcome that issue, there's usually a reasonable protocol if one were to withdraw medications in order to do it. So then once a person's off medications and they've done a good lead-in with a health-promoting diet, the next step is to realize that fasting needs to be done in an environment of rest. So you can't be driving an automobile while you're water fasting. You're not going to be safe. Your reflexes are affected. Not a good idea. Also, if you're more active in fasting rather than resting in fasting, you're not going to get the same mobilization of intermediary products of metabolism and toxic products. You're not going to get the benefit of fasting to the degree that you would if you're resting, because so much of your energy is diverted to maintaining even basic metabolic function. We don't think, well, driving's pretty passive, but remember, the biggest burner of glucose is your brain. So even your brain being too activated can inhibit and delay some of the positive effects that can be generated by true fasting, which is the complete abstinence of all substances except water in an environment of complete rest. That complete rest is kind of important. One of the reasons why I like recommending fasting being done in a controlled setting is that it's hard for people to have complete rest if they're anxious. And they're naturally anxious when these symptoms of fasting begin to manifest. And there are many. And for example, early phase fasting, people oftentimes may get nausea and even vomiting as bile is dumped from the liver and the body goes through detox. As the kidneys are processing a lot of the products that are elaborated in the blood, sometimes people get low back pain, which is referral pain. They can get skin rashes and discharges. There's all kinds of entertaining symptoms that come up in fasting, most of which are positive attempts to heal itself generated by the body. But again, not everything necessarily is, and so it's good to be able to tell the difference between what is or isn't a positive response, and then to make a rational decision about either to continue fasting or to terminate the fast or to modify the fast in order to accommodate the person's ability to adapt to it. Another inherent part of that screening process is making sure people that shouldn't be water fasting don't. Not everybody's a good candidate for water-only fasting. Some people have conditions that would contraindicate fasting, but they might do better with some modified version of it. Maybe they could do intermittent fasting or they could do modified feeding programs, but they wouldn't want to actually do water-only fasting, at least at that point.
Okay,
and once they get through the fast, the biggest...
He touched on something right there that I want to just mention, like he mentioned intermittent fasting. When I was in college, I used to fast, I think it was on Sabbaths, but it was one day when I was at Southern, every week, I didn't eat any food, but all I drank was juice. And I'd get 4 or 5 apple juices or orange juice or whatever, cranberry juice, and that's what all I drank. And another person did it with me, and it helped me overall in my grades and my feelings and my emotions and everything I was going through. So that would be called like a juice fast, where you'd just be taking juice and no food. But so then there's water-only fasting, and some people you can find that like you can go on a juice fast once a week or for a whole week. My wife and I did a juice fast once for a month, and that's all we did was juicing. But you know, God made the food to have the fiber in there, so I tend to push my personal experience, lean more away from juicing. Not that it's bad, but I want to look for what's better. And I think what's better is the whole apple, the whole banana, the whole fruit. The less you do to it and just eat it, it has everything in there, all the fiber, everything you need. And it can be a challenge to know how to do this, and so I'd like to see us maybe start a class where we talk about this and we watch videos and we just get excited, and you try it and I try it, and oh, I came back and I tried this and this is gone and this is, you know, and whatever. We just keep people encouraged. So I'd like you to put some stuff like that on the questionnaire and then get that back to me before you leave. I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to stop, turn the lights on, and see if you have any questions, and then we'll just formally end it. I don't want to go much more over the hour here, and just end it. And if anyone would like to stay on, there's another little 10-minute segment. All of you can watch all this at home on the DVD, so you don't need to watch it here. But if you want to stay and watch a little bit more with me after question and answer, we'll do that. So let's just take a few minutes for question and answers. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but I'll be happy to address anything, if anything comes to your mind. Sir. Go ahead. Oh, hang on just a second. I guess we're going to do the mic. I forget where they're televising this or something, or recording it.
Ellen White gives the advice about eating only 2 meals a day. So you figure that out. If one follows that, in essence, in comparison with the rest of the world, I might be fasting a little over 2 days every single week, merely by cutting back that 1 meal each day. Amen.
I would have wished I had said that myself, because I have actually, and it's been a little bit because of the weight issue, because I feel like I'm eating good for the most part, but my wife and I have started to do that. We're on a 2 meal a day plan, so we eat usually about 7 in the morning, 7:30, somewhere in there, and then I eat again at 2. And we both do, and then I don't eat anymore. Every once in a while I come home and I just think I'm dying. I'm just dying. I got to have something, you know, and I'll eat a banana or a tiny bit of granola or something, you know. And, you know, usually I don't sleep as well. I don't feel as good in the morning. I feel so much better, and you're right. Fasting is when your stomach is empty. It usually takes your stomach 4 to 5 hours to empty, depending on what you've eaten. And then after that, it's resting. And so you're in a state of fasting, like breakfast, you know, that's what you're doing. You're breaking the fast from all night long. So everybody, in a sense, does some fasting, unless you're eating too late at night, and then probably your stomach, poor stomach, is working all night long, and it doesn't get the rest, and so you're not really fasting at all, because it's busy. You want your stomach to be empty, and then you're actually in a fasting state. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, ma'am. We have somebody here.
I'm 73 and I've been put in assisted living. I find it difficult to be healthy in there.
To be healthy in there.
Yeah.
It can be a challenge. That's one I don't know how to address directly, but I'd happy to get together and pray with you, or maybe we could go in and talk to the director, and maybe they could, you know, we could make some appeals to try to get, some better food, fresher.
It's better than any place I've been with a diet.
Good.
But they don't like me fasting. They don't like me missing my third meal. So usually have fruit or something light to satisfy them. But it's difficult.
Yeah.
They don't get outside exercise. It's difficult.
Yeah, and the more sedentary life we live, you know, probably the less food we need, really, but it's a very difficult. Don't want to just pass over that. Anybody else have a comment on that, or? I'll be happy to get together. Any other questions? Yes, Pat, I think. Is it Pat? Kate, sorry.
I might have missed it, but when you were on the month-and-a-half juice fast,
Carrot juice.
Just carrots
Just
for
carrot
a month
juice.
and a half.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't right to do, the Lord overlooked it and blessed me anyways because of my intent of my heart. I wouldn't go around advocating people do anything that I did. I'm just saying that's my story and that's what I did. And I'm just telling you, I went a month and a half doing heavy physical exercise, drinking those 3 large things. And I might make some more when I got home, but that's all I had was carrot juice.
People that I've worked with that have drunk carrot juice, their skin did start to turn orange. I was just wondering why yours didn't.
I never had anybody come and talk to me. I had the discussion about it because I was acquainted with it, and I'd look at my hands and I'd say, well, they look a little bit yellow. My skin is a little bit ruddy anyways, so maybe I was experiencing a little, but I didn't have that problem. I don't know. I don't think, have you ever heard of any bad things with it? If you get your skin's turning a little yellow? Yeah, okay, so maybe if it does happen, maybe it's happening, but I have never heard anything bad associated.
Years ago, when we first started doing health stuff, we were juicing. And we had a very bad result because when you're separating the fiber from the juice, if you have liver problems, and we did, or at least I did, because of the previous lifestyle that I had, and I had such a very bad reaction to juicing, I had to stop. So, you know, if you're going to do it, you know, just realize that you may have some issues with it if you have other problems. We got off of the juice, and I tell people now, if you're going to juice, don't eat. Just juice.
Just juice. I've heard that, yes, in juicing, you know, like you say, you're separating the fiber, you're getting all the nutrients, you know, but the fiber is actually what helps sweep out, you know, your intestines. So I'm not so much a juicer anymore. Not that I won't have juice once in a while, but I go to fasting. You know, I tried, so I've done 10-day fast twice. Once not so much by choice when I was depressed. The second time I did by choice, and it helped me immensely. I've tried it now twice in my marriage with Jane, and I think both times I got to 5 days and I started having problems, and I was just like, I got a little nervous. And that's kind of what he talks about. If you go to a clinic and you're supervised by a doctor, they're testing a lot of things. And there might be people in here, and before we go to our next question, what did I do with that other? Oh, well. But this other video, it's laying here, that I would like to, if some of you want to get together again, if you express interest. I think one of the questions says that on there, that you would like to watch that other DVD. It's about 20 to 30 people. A man goes here with his brother-in-law and a friend, and one of them is a videographer, and so he videos himself before he goes on the fast, and he fasts. One of them fasts for 30 days, the other one fasted for 31 days. These are large men, you know. Water fast only. 30 days, 31 days. As they're going through the video, and it's a fascinating thing to watch, because like the fourth day into it, he's like, oh man, I feel like I'm going to die. And then the seventh day, man, I feel better than I've ever felt. And the 11th day, oh man, I feel like trash. I don't know if I can continue this, you know. And the 12th day is horrible, and the 13th day is horrible, and the 14th, well, suddenly Superman, you know, like they feel like they can do everything. And they go back and forth like that. On the 31st day when he breaks his fast, and they break you very carefully because you don't want to just start refeeding all whole foods instantly. Your stomach hasn't had anything. They start you off on juices, and then like watermelon things. You know, there's certain processes they take you through before they get you on. Then eventually they get on. It's all whole, fresh, raw food, and then eventually they get you back onto like steamed foods, and then you know you get back more into a might say a normal diet. So and again, they're testing you. They're taking your temperature, your blood pressure. They're monitoring all kind of things. The doctors. And you need that because things can happen. And not every disease and problem you have, and they mention it as we'll watch farther, or you will watch later farther on this, that there are some things you do not want to fast. You know, you got kidney problems, or, you know, kidneys are about shut down or whatever. There's certain things you don't want to be doing that. Some cancers, I was really shocked when I watched this one because I never heard him say this before, but he's now hired researchers that work with him, physician doctors that are researchers, and they're putting together data. They've had 16,000 people go through fasting up through 40 days. You cannot, and they'll talk about this, you can't go there and say, I'm going to fast for 40 days. You know, here's my money. They won't do it. You know, they're like, no, we'll check you daily and we'll tell you when to stop. Because we're looking at you clinically when it's time to stop, diagnostically, he says. It's not just a whim, oh, I'm going to, you know, now see for me, I think it was a bit of a whim. I'm going to try fasting. I've done it twice for 10 days. I'm going to do it again. I got to 5 days. I started just having issues, and I was like, it made me kind of scared, and I just told my wife, I'm stopping, you know, because I don't want to do anything stupid. Got back on. Question?
Is it okay if I change the subject?
Please.
You said that you talked to T. Allen Campbell about supplements. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear whether he was in favor of or against supplements.
He said he thought I was on the right track by not taking supplements.
Okay.
Because he said you can get yourself in trouble easily because a lot of one supplement can start affecting other things in your body. And he says, we just don't even know yet in medical science what those issues are. Kind of like, and you can all think back 10 years ago when they told you to do a lot of something, and then later they say, oh, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You know, medicine will go back and forth because they don't have the data yet. Once the data comes in, you don't want to go, well, I've been doing that for 10 years. You know, that wouldn't make sense. So he steered me away from it.
Okay, well, I have arthritis, and I've been taking curcumin and turmeric, mm-hmm. and things like that, ginger, yes. and that kind of stuff. I just didn't know if I should stop that, continue, or...
Pray about it. I would not be the one to tell you to stop it. I mean, if you're...
Is it working for you?
I don't, you know, you say if it's working for you, but like for instance, and this may be the wrong analogy, forgive me if it is, but like I have a headache and I find when I take aspirin it goes away. Should I continue taking aspirin? You know, we'd say no. Now turmeric and glucosamine and most of those kinds of things are all much more natural than something like aspirin. I get that. I've taken all those for months at a time. I've never had it touch any of my arthritic problems. I have plenty of friends say, man, I took this ginger, and man, it just cured everything with my arthritis. I'm like, praise the Lord. That's good. I'm not going to stand here and point my finger at any of you and judge you and say you shouldn't do that, or I'm just sharing my story and what he told me, and we each have to make a decision. And I want to always tell you, you're all adults now. You got that right, right? We're all adults, and no one can tell you you have to eat 2 meals a day, or don't eat chocolate, or don't drink beer, or, you know, you can do whatever you want, right? God gave us that freedom. He died to give you, you're really not following your own will, though. You all know that. You know, you're following Satan's will unless you put your side on God's side and do his method. And then that's the freedom you have to get away from only having Satan's choice. And when it gets a fine line there, like, is this wrong or is it, boy, I'm the last one to say it. You have to pray about that one.
Hallelujah Acres advocates an 80-20 ratio.
80-20 ratio.
Is that what you have found helpful? 20% steamed or cooked,
yeah.
80% raw.
I've been there for extended periods of time, and yes, they have what they call an 80-20 program, 80% raw, 20% cooked. So when we go through their lines, then they would have big fresh salads and fresh tomatoes and fresh, you know, raw corn. Believe me, I used to love corn, cooked corn with the butter and the salt, and oh man, and then when I stopped eating like butter, I was like, I don't want corn anymore. Stopped eating mayonnaise. I don't want potato salad anymore. I just stopped eating it. I couldn't imagine life. But and here's the benefit of fasting. You get a reboot. It's like a reboot of your computer. It resets your apostat, which is your hunger thing, and it resets your taste buds. You think, I've had people just say, well, I can't eat oranges. I stand oranges. I say, God, try water fasting for 10 days. I bet you'll love oranges. And it's true, you will. There's all kind of foods you can't stand. You try water fasting for a while, and then suddenly that orange or that lettuce or that, you know, apricot, whatever it is you might not like, suddenly can start looking pretty good. And you'll find it tastes good. And so I found eating raw corn now, I'm just as happy as a clam, man. Just go get an ear of corn, husk it off, man, I'll eat it raw. It tastes wonderful to me. Now, some people look at you and they go, well, that poor guy, man, he can't put butter on it, and he can't put salt, and he can't do this, and he can't do that. No, it's not that way. You know, a guy that's smoking cigarettes, do you think he's sitting there suffering, going, oh, man, I got to suck on this thing again? You think he's suffering? No, his taste buds have adapted. He thinks it's great. The guy who's drinking the beer, he thinks it's great. Now, I'd take beer, and I'd be spitting it out, and take a cigarette, I'd be, you know, coughing. But you get used to whatever you're eating. So believe me, your taste buds can change, and you can enjoy a big thing of raw foods, and it can taste just out of this world. Jerry.
Yes, I just want to make a comment on some of that. Even at advanced ages, we can still learn things. And one of the things that I learned recently when we did our series on diabetes is that there's a new science out called epigenetics, in which your DNA, your chromosomes, they can actually be changed and reconfigured and reprogrammed so that it's not just the taste buds that change, but you're made into a new person.
Amen.
And it's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
And it does explain a lot, but yeah, I know what you mean about, I quit eating dairy and stuff, and I was traveling a lot, so it would be hard to get a toast with anything other than butter on it, so I just did without. Now I don't want anything. I don't put anything on my corn like you talked about, and I just like it without the greasy taste.
Yeah. When I went raw for the month, well, I did raw for about 6 months, and I got to where, I don't know if any of you were meat eaters and then became vegetarian. Do you know what it feels like now when you go in a room and there's a big turkey there on the table? What does it look like?
Looks like a dead turkey.
It looks like roadkill. It's like, what is that thing doing on the table? Get it off. That's how you feel emotionally. I got eating raw to when I saw like steamed cabbage, I'm like, oh, the poor cabbage, you just killed it. Like, I feel sorry for it, man. It's like, I wouldn't want to eat that. That's my mindset. I could eat raw cabbage. I loved raw cabbage. I mean, I just craved it. I actually can't do that right now. I'll eat raw cabbage, but I don't like relish it like I did when I was raw. All these are going through my head here. I got to think about what I'm doing.
just want to make one other comment. We were talking about juicing a while ago.
Yeah.
And what happens when you juice and you separate the fiber out of the juice and you just drink the sugar water is that your blood sugar spikes.
Yes.
And it's the fiber that's in the fruit tends to mitigate the sugar so that you don't get the big sugar bounce in the bloodstream that causes the problem. So it's best not to take the fiber out.
Thank you. Appreciate that thought. Very true. I do know all these things. They don't all come to my head all the time. So I appreciate these comments. Anybody else? Question? Maybe should I say one more and then let's close? And then if you want to stay, I'll be happy to talk to you more individually. And then I have the DVDs. I think I'm just going to forgo watching the next 10-minute thing, and because you'll have the video you can watch on your own. I just wanted to whet your appetite a little.
I think what happened was you did your 10-day water fast, and then you did your 60-day or your 40-day or whatever juice fast, whatever it was. I think that 10-day actually, it kind of purified your body, like take all the defecation and all that out, and just cleaned you out physically. But then the juice fast, even though the juice would have been better had they had the fiber, and you were working, doing physical labor. You weren't just drinking the juice and going, oh, I'm going to take a nap now. And so you were working all that sugar off. So there's a different scenario in what happened to you in that moment.
Yes.
It would be like somebody else doing it and doing some other kind of activity, let's say, or not already prepping their body by cleaning it out. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So maybe that's why you were successful in what you were doing.
Yes.
And maybe God was impressing you to do that.
And I felt that
100%.
way because that guy at Hallelujah Acres across from me, he water fasted 10 days and he juiced the month and a half. I mean, like we were like copycats. I was just amazed. Now, he wasn't an Adventist or nothing. I just ran right over to him. I got to talk to you, and we talked about it. But it's like, how we both were impressed. But not for 1 second. Even if two of us did it, what I say, that's the program for you.
Right. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just.
Yeah.
I think everything.
I recognize that.
Was connected correctly. Like maybe that wouldn't work for me because I don't have a physical job like you did, so I wouldn't want to do that.
And it didn't work for me a second time when I tried
exactly.
it. Kind of thing,
Right. Exactly.
But it did. She has one question she's been dying to ask.
Yes, I would like to. I am identified with my brother Randy. And
you don't look a thing like.
No, I am from other country, and I came here. And
where did you live? Where did you come from?
I come from Peru, and I give him credit about fasting. Even now, I'm doing classes at E. Cornell University with Dr. T. Camber, and it's scientifically proved that fasting at least one day a week is a healing for the body, because our body is like the machine that needs maintenance. So when we give him time to resting, all of the cells that are working all the time take the oxygen and all of the rejuvenating their self, and it's coming the healing time. This is one. I'm so familiar for the Dr. Goldman also. And the people that we are Christian, if God give us the power. I went for 3 days just with water. And I couldn't believe myself saying, how I'm doing like this? That 3 days just not missing anything. I was saying, Lord, what's going on with me? And the 3 days, after 3 days, just was just even energetic and still working. And then I discovered that my energy is more. Doing the college, I keep my GPA 4.0, and my brain is better than I had my being teenager and being 20s. I am 40s. And so it's really, even now I'm just doing raw food. Most of my food is raw. And every day I am the only person in my job that doesn't get sick. So I say that people in my job, if you don't want to be sick, go to talk to Maria. They say no. But I just share to them what I do. when they have pain and they're enjoying everything, I say, take ginger tea and with ginger tea and with cinnamon. And the next day they come and they say, oh, Maria, thank you so much. Yes, I'm so feeling good. Thank you. And so it's
do you have any more?
my experience also. But God, I guess, God for something reason, even now taking these classes with this university is just amazing. Goes far for that just being or saying being vegan is affecting the planet, including. So it's God's place, and as a Christian, if we don't take the planet, it will be destroyed, and if the people who is collaborating with that, we will be destroyed. So, well, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
So, if you don't have access to a computer or not too computer savvy to know how to type that link in, I have the DVD right here. So if you just come up and get one, I'd be happy to give you one as long as they last. If you are computer savvy and you just want one of these, if you hold off just a little bit and let those that aren't savvy get them first, and then I'll be happy to make more and get them to you. You just let me know, okay?
Everybody filled out the questionnaire. Be sure and hand in your copy to me.
Yeah.
And I want to say something about fasting. What happens about all these people changing whenever they're fasting and things happen to you? It's because the body is cleansing out the impurities of all the bad things you've been eating for all those years. I've known people that go on a fast and suddenly they get drunk again or experience the effects of drugs. That's good. Thank you. I'm not saying I'm one of them, although it's true. Okay, I think we should all give a round of applause for Randy.
No, we don't need to do that, but
thank you for coming, Randy.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. This class got me re-inspired, so I'm real pumped up again, and that's what this is all about, encouraging
Amen.
one another as we see the day approaching. Let's bow our heads for just a brief prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you for meeting with us. I thank you for all the information, not only that you give us, but knowing that you want to give us, and that your ways for us are ways of peace and goodness, righteousness, and that it is Satan that is our enemy. I know I get that confused in my head sometimes. I get upset, kind of like the children's story this morning, you know, my house burned down, I'm so upset, God, why'd you do this? And actually that's the solution to your problem. And so help us to be patient, and forgive us, Lord, for how we get so messed up. But I thank you that you understand, you walk this life. You said you remember that we are made of dust, and that you have infinite compassion on us, and that you're preparing mansions for us. And I pray you'd bless every person that attended today, those that may be listening now or in the future, that they may take courage and go to you and to seek you and to seek your ways. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much. If you just want to come up or you want to raise your hand, how do we want to do that? And I'll just walk around here and pass them out. You want to what? I'm going to take Esther home. Okay.